The wind howls across the frozen tundra of what would one day become France, carrying with it the scent of mammoth blood and the promise of another brutal winter. In a cave carved from limestone cliffs, two species of human huddle around dying fires, their fates intertwined yet destined to diverge in ways that will echo through 60,000 years of history. One will vanish forever, leaving behind only scattered bones and haunting cave paintings. The other will inherit the earth. Kael crouches beside the ember-strewn hearth, his calloused fingers working desperately to coax flame from tinder. The young Homo sapiens hunter's breath forms crystalline clouds in the frigid air as he glances nervously toward the cave mouth. Beyond that threshold, winter has claimed the land with merciless efficiency, burying familiar hunting grounds beneath layers of ice and snow. His tribe faces starvation, their summer reserves dwindling faster than anticipated. Yet something drives him forward with relentless determination, an inexplicable urge to push beyond the known boundaries of survival. Just 3 valleys away, in a cave system that has sheltered his people for countless generations, Grok tends his own fire with practiced efficiency. The Neanderthal's massive frame casts dancing shadows on walls, adorned with ochre handprints left by his ancestors. His thick skull houses a brain actually larger than Kael's, packed with knowledge accumulated over millennia of successful adaptation to these harsh northern climates. Grok knows exactly which roots remain edible beneath the permafrost, which animal trails lead to reliable water sources, and how to craft tools that have kept his people alive through ice ages that would crush lesser beings. The irony cuts deep into the fossil record. Neanderthals possessed every advantage evolution could provide for surviving in Ice Age Europe. Their stocky, powerful builds conserved heat more efficiently than the lean frames of their African cousins. Their brains, on average 15% larger than modern humans, processed complex environmental information with stunning accuracy. They had mastered fire, crafted sophisticated stone tools, and even created art that still moves us today. By every measure of evolutionary fitness, they should have been the ones to inherit the future. Yet something went catastrophically wrong. Recent genetic discoveries have unveiled a possibility so profound, it reshapes our understanding of human evolution entirely. Deep within the twisted helixes of DNA recovered from ancient bones, scientists have identified a single genetic mutation that may explain how anatomically modern humans didn't just survive alongside Neanderthals, they completely replaced them across an entire continent. This mutation affects something so fundamental to human experience that its implications stretch far beyond mere survival. It rewired the very architecture of cognition itself. The mutation sits nestled within the FOXP2 gene, often called the language gene, though its influence extends far beyond simple communication. This genetic alteration, which occurred sometime between 200,000 and 100,000 years ago, appears to have supercharged the neural pathways responsible for rapid learning, flexible thinking, and most crucially, the ability to imagine possibilities that don't yet exist. While Neanderthals possessed remarkable intelligence perfectly calibrated to their immediate environment, this mutation may have gifted our ancestors with something far more dangerous, the capacity to dream of tomorrow. Kael embodies this revolutionary change as he stares into the hypnotic dance of flames. His mind doesn't simply process the immediate reality of dwindling food stores and approaching death. Instead, neural networks enhanced by this ancient mutation fire in patterns that construct elaborate mental scenarios. He visualizes following river systems he's never seen, imagines hunting grounds beyond the horizon, and most remarkably, conceives of tools and techniques that don't yet exist. This isn't mere planning. It's the birth of human innovation, driven by genetically enhanced imagination. The mutation's effects ripple through every aspect of cognitive function. When Kael encounters a problem, his brain automatically generates multiple potential solutions simultaneously, weighing outcomes that exist only in possibility space. His enhanced neural plasticity allows rapid adaptation to new environments and circumstances, while improved pattern recognition helps him identify subtle connections that escape less cognitively flexible minds. Most importantly, his mutation-enhanced ability to engage in complex sequential learning means he can master new skills with unprecedented speed and precision. Grok, meanwhile, represents the pinnacle of pre-mutation human cognition. His intelligence operates with mechanical precision, processing environmental cues through neural pathways refined across hundreds of thousands of years of successful adaptation. When faced with challenges, his powerful mind draws upon vast databases of ancestral knowledge, applying time-tested solutions with remarkable effectiveness. He can track wounded animals across impossible terrain, predict weather patterns days in advance, and craft tools of stunning sophistication using techniques passed down through countless generations. But there lies the critical difference. Grok's cognition, for all its impressive capabilities, remains fundamentally conservative. His neural architecture excels at applying existing knowledge to familiar situations, but struggles when circumstances demand truly novel approaches. The genetic foundation that made Neanderthals such successful hunters and survivors may have simultaneously limited their ability to innovate beyond established patterns. Their cognitive strength became their evolutionary weakness. The implications become clear as both tribes face the mounting crisis of a particularly brutal winter. Game animals have retreated to sheltered valleys or migrated south entirely, leaving behind a landscape stripped of easy sustenance. Traditional hunting grounds lie buried beneath impenetrable ice sheets, while familiar plant foods remain locked in frozen soil until spring's distant return. For both species, survival demands adaptation, but the nature of their cognitive responses will determine which lineage sees another dawn. Grok approaches the crisis with methodical precision, drawing upon generational wisdom accumulated through similar hardships. He leads hunting parties to locations where his ancestors successfully found winter prey, following routes carved into cultural memory through countless repetitions. When these familiar strategies yield diminishing returns, he intensifies their application rather than abandoning them entirely. His people ration their remaining stores with careful calculation while maintaining the social structures and behavioral patterns that have sustained them through previous winters. Kael's mutation-enhanced cognition generates entirely different responses to the same environmental pressures. His brain automatically constructs mental models of unexplored territories, imagining river systems that might harbor different prey species or geological formations that could provide better shelter. Most remarkably, he envisions modifications to existing tools that could improve hunting efficiency, social organizations that might better distribute scarce resources, and entirely novel survival strategies that exist nowhere in ancestral memory. This cognitive divergence manifests in their approaches to tool creation with startling clarity. Grok crafts implements using techniques perfected across millennia, producing stone points and cutting edges of remarkable quality through methods his grandfather's grandfather would instantly recognize. Each tool represents the culmination of accumulated knowledge, refined through countless iterations until achieving near-perfect functionality for specific purposes. The result is craftsmanship that modern humans still struggle to replicate. Kael's mutation-driven cognition approaches tool creation as an ongoing experiment in possibility. Rather than simply reproducing ancestral designs, his enhanced neural plasticity allows rapid testing of novel configurations and techniques. He imagines hafting methods that don't yet exist, experiments with stone-knapping approaches that challenge traditional assumptions, and most importantly, conceives of entirely new categories of tools designed for problems his people haven't yet encountered. His implements may lack the refined perfection of Neanderthal craftsmanship, but they demonstrate unprecedented adaptability and innovation potential. The mutation's impact extends beyond individual cognition to reshape social interaction patterns in ways that cascade through entire populations. Kael's enhanced sequential learning abilities allow him to rapidly master complex communication protocols, while his improved pattern recognition helps him navigate intricate social hierarchies with growing sophistication. Most crucially, his mutation-enhanced capacity for imagining non-existent scenarios enables unprecedented levels of cooperative planning and group coordination. When Kael's tribe gathers around their dwindling fire, their conversations don't merely recount past hunts or assess current resources. Instead, mutation-enhanced minds collaborate in constructing elaborate shared visions of potential futures. They discuss hunting grounds that exist only in imagination, debate the merits of migration routes they've never traveled, and most remarkably, coordinate complex group actions designed to address challenges that haven't yet materialized. This cognitive collaboration, impossible without their genetic enhancement, allows collective problem-solving on scales that dwarf individual intelligence. Grok's people demonstrate equally impressive social cooperation, but constrained within fundamentally different parameters. Their gatherings showcase the accumulated wisdom of generations, with elder members sharing detailed knowledge about seasonal patterns, animal behaviors, and survival techniques proven effective across countless winters. Young hunters receive instruction in traditional methods through careful observation and precise replication, ensuring cultural continuity across generations. The resulting social structure demonstrates remarkable stability and resilience within familiar environmental contexts. However, when circumstances demand responses that fall outside established cultural patterns, the cognitive differences between species become starkly apparent. Grok's people apply traditional solutions with increasing intensity, confident that methods which sustained their ancestors will eventually prove successful. Their social discussions focus on optimizing existing approaches rather than exploring alternatives that exist beyond cultural memory. This conservative cognitive bias, which provided stability across millennia of environmental consistency, becomes a liability when conditions demand unprecedented adaptations. The mutation's most profound impact may lie in its enhancement of what scientists call theory of mind, the ability to understand that others possess beliefs, desires, and knowledge different from one's own. This cognitive capacity, already present in both species, receives significant amplification through genetic modification. Kael doesn't merely recognize that his hunting companions have different perspectives. His mutation-enhanced cognition allows rapid modeling of their mental states, prediction of their likely responses to novel situations, and most importantly, strategic manipulation of social dynamics to achieve collective goals. This enhanced theory of mind enables unprecedented levels of social complexity within Homo sapiens groups. Kael can simultaneously track the shifting alliances, hidden motivations, and secret knowledge of dozens of tribal members, using this information to coordinate group actions with remarkable precision. When planning hunts, his mutation-enhanced cognition automatically accounts for each participant's likely behavior under various scenarios, allowing optimization of group performance through strategic role assignment and resource allocation. More insidiously, these same cognitive enhancements enable sophisticated forms of social competition that extend far beyond simple physical dominance. Kael's people engage in elaborate reputation management, strategic information sharing, and complex alliance formation that would challenge modern politicians. They can construct and maintain multiple layers of social deception while simultaneously cooperating on essential survival tasks. This cognitive duality, the ability to compete and collaborate simultaneously, may have provided crucial advantages in environments where resources remained scarce, but group coordination remained essential. The genetic mutation's influence on learning patterns creates cascading effects that accumulate across generations in ways that fundamentally alter cultural evolution itself. While both species possess sophisticated cultural transmission mechanisms, the mutation enhances the speed and accuracy with which new information integrates into existing knowledge systems. Kael learns traditional hunting techniques with unprecedented rapidity, then automatically begins experimenting with variations and improvements. His modified cognition treats cultural knowledge not as fixed wisdom, to be preserved unchanged, but as raw material for ongoing innovation and experimentation. This accelerated cultural evolution becomes apparent in artifact production, where mutation-enhanced humans demonstrate remarkable diversity and rapid change across relatively brief time periods. Archaeological sites associated with anatomically modern humans show tool technologies that shift and evolve with startling frequency, suggesting populations that continuously experimented with new approaches rather than settling into stable patterns. Each generation builds upon previous innovations while simultaneously exploring entirely novel directions, creating an exponential acceleration of technological development. Neanderthal archaeological sites tell a different story entirely. Their tool technologies demonstrate remarkable consistency across vast stretches of time and geography, suggesting cultural systems that prioritized stability and proven effectiveness over innovation and experimentation. Grok's people created implements of stunning sophistication using methods that remained essentially unchanged for tens of thousands of years. This technological conservatism reflects cognitive patterns that excelled within stable environmental contexts, but struggled when circumstances demanded rapid adaptation to novel challenges. The winter deepens around both tribes, transforming their shared landscape into an increasingly hostile environment that tests every aspect of their evolved capabilities. Ice sheets advance with grinding inevitability, burying familiar territories beneath frozen barriers that will not retreat for thousands of years. The few remaining animals grow increasingly wary and difficult to track, while plant foods become entirely inaccessible beneath layers of permafrost. Both species face the stark reality that traditional survival strategies may prove insufficient against environmental challenges that exceed anything in ancestral memory. Grok responds to escalating crisis through intensification of proven approaches, drawing upon cultural knowledge accumulated across countless previous winters to optimize existing strategies. His people venture farther from their caves in search of game, expand their foraging territories to exploit previously marginal resources, and implement increasingly stringent rationing protocols designed to extend their dwindling food stores. Every action reflects the accumulated wisdom of generations who successfully navigated similar challenges through careful application of traditional knowledge. But this winter exceeds the parameters of ancestral experience. Game populations have not merely relocated to different territories, they have crashed entirely under environmental pressures that surpass anything recorded in cultural memory. The plant foods that sustained previous generations through lean periods remain locked beneath ice sheets, whose depth and duration exceed all precedent. For the first time in their species-long history, Neanderthals face challenges that cannot be solved through optimization of existing strategies. Kael's mutation-enhanced cognition generates radically different responses to identical environmental pressures. Rather than intensifying traditional approaches, his genetic modification drives exploration of entirely novel survival strategies that exist nowhere in ancestral knowledge. His brain automatically constructs mental models of distant territories where different environmental conditions might support different survival approaches. Most remarkably, his enhanced sequential learning allows rapid mastery of completely new skill sets designed to exploit resources that previous generations never considered. The cognitive divergence becomes apparent in their contrasting approaches to resource acquisition during the deepening crisis. Grok continues hunting large mammals using traditional techniques, but with increasingly desperate determination as prey animals become scarce. His people maintain social structures and behavioral patterns that proved successful during previous winters, confident that intensified application of proven methods will eventually yield results. When familiar hunting grounds fail to provide sustenance, they expand their search radius while maintaining traditional approaches to tracking and killing prey. Kael's people demonstrate unprecedented behavioral flexibility as environmental pressures mount. His mutation-enhanced cognition enables rapid development of entirely new hunting techniques designed to exploit previously ignored resource categories. They begin targeting smaller prey animals using modified tools and novel strategies, experiment with food processing techniques that extract nutrition from previously inedible materials, and most significantly, develop entirely new social organizations designed to optimize resource distribution under conditions of extreme scarcity. The mutation's impact on risk assessment patterns creates profound differences in how each species responds to uncertainty and potential danger. Grok's cognition excels at evaluating threats within familiar parameters, drawing upon generational experience to assess the likely outcomes of various survival strategies. His people make decisions based on carefully weighted probabilities derived from extensive historical precedent, choosing actions that maximize survival chances based on known variables and established patterns. Kael's genetic modification fundamentally alters risk-reward calculations by enhancing his ability to imagine potential outcomes that exist outside historical precedent. His mutation-enhanced cognition automatically generates multiple scenario projections, weighing possibilities that range far beyond anything in ancestral experience. This cognitive capacity allows exploration of high-risk, high-reward strategies that more conservative minds would automatically reject as too dangerous to attempt. The difference becomes crucial as winter conditions deteriorate beyond anything either species has previously encountered. Traditional risk assessment based on historical precedent becomes increasingly inadequate when environmental conditions exceed all previous experience. Grok's people, relying on proven approaches to threat evaluation, struggle to adapt their decision-making processes to circumstances that fall outside cultural memory. Their cognitive strength, the ability to make optimal decisions based on accumulated wisdom, becomes a liability when optimal strategies require actions that contradict ancestral knowledge. Kael's mutation-enhanced risk assessment enables exploration of survival strategies that would appear suicidal to more conservative cognition. His people venture into territories that cultural knowledge marks as impossibly dangerous, experiment with food sources that tradition labels as toxic, and most remarkably, abandon behavioral patterns that sustained their ancestors for millennia in favor of entirely novel approaches to survival. Many of these experiments fail catastrophically, but the few that succeed provide crucial advantages that compound over time. The genetic mutations enhancement of pattern recognition capabilities create subtle but profound differences in how each species processes environmental information. Both Neanderthals and anatomically modern humans possess sophisticated abilities to detect meaningful patterns within complex environmental data, but the mutation amplifies these capacities in ways that extend far beyond immediate survival needs. Kael's enhanced pattern recognition operates across temporal and spatial scales that exceed immediate sensory input, allowing detection of subtle correlations that escape less cognitively flexible minds. This enhanced pattern recognition manifests most clearly in their contrasting approaches to environmental prediction and long-term planning. Grok reads environmental signs with remarkable accuracy, drawing upon generational knowledge to predict weather patterns, animal movements, and seasonal changes with precision that amazes modern observers. His people navigate complex landscapes using mental maps that incorporate vast amounts of accumulated environmental data, allowing successful prediction of resource availability across familiar territories. Kael's mutation-enhanced pattern recognition operates on entirely different principles, detecting correlations and trends that exist beyond immediate environmental context. His cognition automatically identifies subtle connections between seemingly unrelated phenomena, allowing prediction of environmental changes that fall outside traditional knowledge systems. Most remarkably, his enhanced pattern recognition enables identification of entirely new resource opportunities and survival strategies through detection of patterns that previous generations never recognized. The winter reaches its brutal climax as both tribes face the ultimate test of their evolved capabilities. Food stores that should have sustained them through the cold months have been exhausted weeks earlier than anticipated. The few remaining animals have either migrated beyond reach or perished under environmental pressures that exceed their own adaptive capacity. Plant foods remain locked beneath permafrost that shows no signs of spring retreat. Both species confront the stark possibility that their lineages might not survive to see another season. Grok leads his people in increasingly desperate applications of traditional survival strategies, venturing into territories that cultural knowledge marks as extremely dangerous in search of resources that might sustain them through the remaining winter months. Their hunting parties travel farther from base camps than ever before, following ancient migration routes in hopes of encountering prey populations that might have escaped the environmental catastrophe. Every action reflects the accumulated wisdom of countless generations who faced similar challenges through careful optimization of proven techniques. But the environmental collapse exceeds anything in Neanderthal cultural memory. The traditional strategies that sustained their people through previous winters prove inadequate against conditions that surpass all historical precedent. Game populations have not merely relocated, they have been decimated by environmental pressures that cascade through entire ecosystems. The plant foods that provided crucial winter nutrition remain inaccessible beneath ice formations, whose depth and persistence exceed anything recorded in ancestral knowledge. As traditional approaches yield increasingly marginal returns, Grok's people face cognitive constraints that prove catastrophic under unprecedented circumstances. Their neural architecture, perfectly calibrated for success within familiar environmental parameters, struggles to generate novel responses when conditions demand solutions that exist outside cultural memory. The cognitive conservatism that provided stability across millennia becomes a death sentence when survival requires abandoning proven strategies in favor of untested alternatives. Kael's mutation-enhanced cognition generates entirely different responses to identical environmental pressures, demonstrating the profound impact of genetic modification on species-level survival outcomes. His people abandon traditional hunting territories entirely, following mental models that project resource opportunities in regions their ancestors never explored. They experiment with food processing techniques that extract nutrition from materials previous generations never considered edible, develop entirely new social organizations designed to optimize resource distribution under conditions of extreme scarcity, and most remarkably, master novel survival skills that exist nowhere in cultural memory. The genetic mutation's enhancement of cognitive flexibility proves crucial as environmental conditions continue deteriorating beyond all precedent. While Grok's people intensify application of traditional strategies with increasing desperation, Kael's enhanced neural plasticity enables rapid adaptation to circumstances that exceed anything in ancestral experience. His cognition treats the environmental crisis not as a deviation from normal patterns to be corrected through traditional methods, but as a new reality requiring entirely novel approaches to survival. This cognitive divergence becomes apparent in their contrasting responses to resource scarcity as the winter crisis reaches its peak. Grok's people maintain traditional social structures and behavioral patterns even as their effectiveness diminishes under unprecedented environmental pressures. They continue following established protocols for resource distribution, hunting organization, and territorial management because these approaches succeeded during previous challenges. Their commitment to proven strategies reflects cognitive patterns that prioritize stability and precedent over innovation and experimentation. Kael's people demonstrate unprecedented social and behavioral flexibility as traditional approaches fail to provide adequate responses to environmental catastrophe. His mutation-enhanced cognition enables rapid abandonment of cultural practices that prove counterproductive under current conditions, replacement of ineffective social structures with novel organizational patterns, and most significantly, development of entirely new behavioral repertoires designed specifically for current challenges, rather than historical precedents. The transformation extends beyond mere tactical adjustments to encompass fundamental alterations in how each species conceptualizes survival itself. Grok's people understand survival as successful application of ancestral wisdom to current challenges, viewing environmental difficulties as temporary deviations from normal patterns that can be corrected through proper implementation of traditional knowledge. Their cognitive framework treats current hardships as tests of their ability to apply proven strategies rather than indicators that new approaches might be necessary. Kael's mutation-enhanced cognition fundamentally reconceptualizes survival as an ongoing process of adaptation to changing circumstances rather than successful preservation of traditional patterns. His people treat environmental challenges not as temporary deviations to be corrected, but as permanent alterations requiring entirely new approaches to resource acquisition, social organization, and behavioral adaptation. This cognitive flexibility enables exploration of survival strategies that would appear impossible to more conservative minds. The genetic mutation's impact reaches its climax as winter conditions push both species toward the absolute limits of their adaptive capacity. Traditional food sources have been exhausted or rendered inaccessible by environmental conditions that exceed all historical precedent. Shelter systems designed for normal winter conditions prove inadequate against cold that penetrates even the most carefully constructed refuges. Social structures optimized for resource distribution under typical scarcity begin breaking down as shortages reach levels that challenge fundamental assumptions about group survival. Under these extreme conditions, the mutation's enhancement of innovation capacity becomes literally life or death important. Grok's people continue applying traditional approaches with heroic determination, but their cognitive architecture limits exploration of alternatives that might provide better outcomes under unprecedented circumstances. Their neural patterns, refined across hundreds of thousands of years of successful adaptation, cannot generate responses to challenges that fall outside historical experience. The very cognitive specialization that made them such successful survivors becomes a trap when circumstances demand responses that contradict ancestral wisdom. Kael's genetic modification enables cognitive responses that would be impossible without enhancement of neural plasticity and innovation capacity. His people develop entirely new categories of tools designed specifically for current environmental conditions rather than general applications. They master food processing techniques that extract nutrition from previously inedible materials, create shelter systems that exceed traditional engineering in both effectiveness and resource efficiency, and most remarkably, coordinate group activities through social organizations that exist nowhere in cultural precedent. The winter finally breaks, but its legacy reshapes the evolutionary landscape in ways that will echo through tens of thousands of years. Both species survived the immediate crisis, but their responses to unprecedented environmental challenge created divergent trajectories that lead toward radically different evolutionary outcomes. The genetic mutation that enhanced cognitive flexibility in anatomically modern humans proved crucial not merely for surviving individual challenges, but for adapting to a world where unprecedented challenges would become the new normal. Archaeological evidence suggests that the period following this hypothetical crisis marked the beginning of accelerated technological and cultural evolution among anatomically modern humans, while Neanderthal populations entered a gradual decline that culminated in complete extinction within several thousand years. The mutation's enhancement of innovation capacity, cognitive flexibility, and adaptive learning may have provided the crucial advantages that allowed one species to thrive while their close relatives vanished forever from the Earth. As spring finally arrives to melt the killing ice, Kael stands at the entrance to his cave, watching the first green shoots push through thawing soil. His people survived the winter that claimed so many others, but more importantly, they emerged transformed by the experience. The genetic modification that rewired their neural architecture enabled not merely survival, but evolution in response to challenges that exceeded anything their ancestors faced. They carry within their DNA the key to humanity's future dominion over a planet that will demand constant adaptation to survive and thrive. In distant caves, the last Neanderthal communities begin their final chapter. Their magnificent intelligence trapped within cognitive frameworks that cannot adapt quickly enough to keep pace with a world that demands constant innovation to survive. Their story becomes a cautionary tale about the limits of even the most sophisticated intelligence when genetic architecture cannot support the flexibility required for ongoing evolution. The mutation that enhanced human cognition 60,000 years ago continues shaping our species today, driving the restless innovation and adaptive capacity that carried us from those frozen caves to every corner of the planet. In Kael's enhanced neurons lie the seeds of agriculture, cities, art, science, and eventually the technology that allows us to decode the very genetic modifications that made our extraordinary journey possible. One mutation changed everything, and its legacy echoes through every human achievement that followed.